everybody, welcome to yet another video. So today we're having a look at the ANI Tronic. Now this is purely an unboxing video. We are going to do a spray out, and I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to compare some tip sizes to see what difference it makes to the pattern, and we're going to just have a quick look and see how much it differs from the ANI Skull, because both of these are a version of the ANI 200. So a big thank you to Sprayguns Direct. Without their help I wouldn't be able to get these guns, so they did help me a lot, so a big thank you to them for that. I'll put a load of links in the description to the guns, the tip sets, etc., all to their website. And if you actually get one of these, I don't think it'll come out clear enough, but if you actually go over that QR code, it should take you to the ANI pages of, or the Tronic pages on the Sprayguns Direct website. So it's a direct link. So I would imagine you could say this is exclusive to them, because well, unless you put another QR code on the side, I suppose. But yeah, certainly the only place I think you can get these from is Sprayguns Direct. So first of all, it looks really nice. Let's see what you get with it. If ever you get a box like that where it's been crossed out, it's obviously a 1.3 box, someone's crossed it out and put 1.2. All they've done is swap the tip set over. They haven't got the gun in your size or the size you've ordered with the right tip set, so they've just taken a spare tip set and put it in the gun. That's all they've done. So I got a base version. I haven't got both of them here. Well, I have got both of them here, but it's pointless putting both of them in front of the camera, because they are the same apart from the caps, which is what does most of the work after all. So I just want to run through any differences, but first of all we'll run through what's in the box. You get the normal spanner, which is a good spanner. It's nice and thick. I like to see that because it gives you plenty of area when it actually goes on the tip. It spreads the load nicely, so it doesn't chew the tip up, you know, the hexagon where you actually put on the tip, although it's actually 6 sides there. You get a little brush, you get an applicator tool, and you get a spares kit. Now I think this is really good. Well, I say a lot. The Italian manufacturers I know of actually give you a little spares kit, and I think that's really good. Now with the case of the ANI, these things are about 12 GB pounds, about 16, well at the moment about 16 US dollars. So they're not expensive compared to something like an Iwata or a SATA, where you would be paying that for just one little little O-ring. So you get a full spares kit with the gun anyway, which is excellent idea. These guns are really good value anyway, and when they start giving you things like that as well, it just makes them even better value. You get an application tool as well. There's in the spare parts kit, there's a new little can I actually see it in there? Yeah, it's that thing there, that brass thing there. Hopefully you can see it. And it's just it controls the air valve in there, and that tool effectively, when you take this out, you undo that screw, pull that out. When you put the new bits in, this just helps you align them all the way in, so that's what that's for. So yeah, and that's what you get with it. So it's a good general package, I think. You also get, if you order it together as a digital version, I've only seen it as a digital version at the moment, but I think maybe sometime it will come so that you don't have to buy the digital gauge as well if you don't want to. But if you buy it as a set, this comes with it, which is, it's a click on, no sorry, click to, which makes sense because it clicks to the gun. Now this is effectively the TMD. Well, they had a TMD1 and then it had a TMD2. This is effectively a TMD2. And the reason I say that is because, and if you hear that, there's actually a service kit in there for the gauge. I'll try and remember to put a link in the video, because I did a video on changing the battery in this, which is a really easy battery to change, and it's a common battery. In fact, it's exactly the same as the SATA 5000 and 5500s in their digital versions in the handle. So it's a very common battery, cheap battery, easy to change by the user. Not like DeVilbiss and some of the other makes where you, well, with DeVilbiss you're supposed to send it to the factory, rant over. So it's actually really easy to change. Now this, I've got a SATA X-Jet here, which is a digital ready one, and the reason I've got this out is because the ANI gauge is how you would wish the SATA would be in my book, because it tells you the information you need to know. This is available, again, I'll put links in the description. This is available in PSI for people that still on the imperial system, and Celsius for like most of Europe, etc. So it tells you the temperature, and it tells you the battery condition, and it tells you the pressure. What more do you want to know? You don't need to know anything else. You really don't. Now the thing's all metal, and how it differs, this click-on version, which is basically a TMD2. Originally, the TMD1 had a clear gasket or whitish gasket like that. The TMD2 has a black gasket, and the difference between the TMD2 and the TMD1 is that there's much more shock resistance in the TMD2. This click-on is effectively a TMD2, so it's got that shock resistance. It also comes with a 5-year warranty. Which, I mean, I really like this. I'm quite impressed by this because it's very well made, and as I say, it annoys me that someone like SATA can't make something like this, and this sells for a third of the price that a SATA digital gauge sells for. You don't need to know anything else. All you need to want to know is the pressure, the temperature is very handy, and the battery condition. What else? So they call it a click-on, and it literally clicks in there. There's a small reception. I think I've shown you this before anyway. There's a small reception in there, and it just clicks on. But it means it's really easy to use it without, and it just takes seconds to go from one to the other. You don't need to do anything else. So I normally use mine with it on, because I quite like it. It shows the pressure at the top is actually lower than the bottom. So if you've got 2 bar or 29 psi at the bottom, it will show something like about 1.6 on the gauge, 1.6 bar. So what's that, about 23 psi, something like that. So it is typical of a top mounted gauge in it. It shows you a different pressure. So looking through the rest of the gun to see what's different, the trigger has been redesigned. You can see, hopefully you can see, the trigger is thicker and chunkier on the skull compared to the Tronic. The Tronic actually feels slightly lighter. I will get the scales out later. I'll try and remember to put a little video out, and we'll weigh it. But it actually feels, even with the cap on, it feels slightly lighter. So I suspect that they've lost a bit of weight somewhere, which we could all do with, really, couldn't we? Let's face it. Now, one thing that they haven't kept, which I was surprised, well, there are 2 things actually that they haven't kept that surprised me, is they haven't kept the little cap. Now, I really think these little caps are good. I know SATA do them, and you can see I keep them on my SATA because I think it does protect the front. So it'd be nice to see one of those. Not the end of the world, but it would be nice to see one of those. And also, now this is purely personal, I really like, I don't think you're going to be, oh, you probably can see it actually, where it says there, ANI, what's it say? ANI, made in Italy since 1962. And I think that's a really nice touch, that. Yeah, it's gone now, isn't it? Anyway, it is on there. It's etched into the trigger, and it's gone there. I appreciate the trigger smaller, so, but that would be nice to see. But that's the only 2 things that I've noticed. It'd be nice to see the cover still on it, and keeping that, because I just think it looks nice. Anyway, the trigger feels slightly better in the hand. As I say, it feels a little bit lighter. I'll be surprised if it isn't, but maybe it's just my thoughts. Now, one of the things they've done, apparently, is they've improved the internals of these. It's about longevity. Performance of this is excellent. There's nothing lacking in this. I've recently got a 1.2 clear version, which is actually on it, and I've been using it. And I must say the 1.2 is absolutely superb. If you want a super flat finish, this is superb. It's made me think they do a 1.0 version. Now, I don't know whether that's going too small, but it's made me think maybe I'd want to try a 1.2 version. So maybe I'll get a 1.2 set up at some time. Sorry, a 1.0 set up at some time and try that. Because the 1.2 is certainly finer atomizing than the 1.3. Now, not everybody's going to want a 1.2. A 1.3 will be what a lot of people will want and a lot of people want to use because it speeds the gun up. It'd be better for direct gloss or solid colours, as we normally say, at single stage. Than the 1.2, although the 1.4 would be better. I've also got a 1.4, and that's what we're going to do in the second half of the video. I'll do a spray out of we'll try the clear and base cap. I've just got to run through that in a second, but we'll try the clear and base cap on one tip size, but then with the clear cap or the base cap I might do it, but I'll probably do it with the clear cap. I will run it through a 1.2, 1.3 and 1.4, and we'll just see what difference it makes, because I think that might be actually useful information to people who are not sure what size to get. So going back to the differences, as I say, most of them are internal and it's about longevity. Now, one of the things that I picked up on the skull was the fact that this part here, which is normally called a needle guide, it's where the needle goes in the back of the gun. Mine went a little bit rusty just there on the skull. Now, it's not the end of the world, because what I do is I just put a little bit of Vaseline or petroleum jelly on it, just as a little lubricant, and it stops it going rusty. But one of the things I've noticed, now I'm no metal expert, although I'm not an idiot. Well, yeah, okay. The wife would probably disagree with that actually, but I don't think I'm an idiot. And what you get here, it just looks better quality metal. If you can see that, it looks better quality metal. It looks like proper stainless steel, which I don't think the skull had. I could be wrong, and maybe it's just that mine was an early one, because it is a very early one. But yeah, it just looks better made. As far as that goes, it looks better made. The fit and finish is really good anyway. Bear in mind that these guns aren't that expensive on the scale of things. When you're looking at things like this, the WS400s, LS400 series guns, the Walcoms, the Segolas now, which have got really expensive, these aren't that expensive, and they're not that expensive to service. Now, I also got a cup with this, which is an aluminium cup. What do I do with that? There's the aluminium cup. So, aluminium cup. This is the 1 litre cup, although it's not actually holding 1 litre, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But they do an aluminium cup with it. But the reason I wanted to mention the cup, which came with the gun, by the way, there's I think it's 500mm aluminium. They call this a 1 litre aluminium, but it isn't actually one litre as far as I know. Well, it wasn't when I measured it last time. A 600mm plastic pot, and there's another size as well. So there's a few different sizes you can choose from. What I was trying to say before I got carried away with capacities is that with these fit quite a few other guns, and they're not expensive. This thing is about, including VAT, about £23, 23 GB pounds, so about $30 US. But it fits the GTI Pro Light, it fits the Meiji Finer Core, it fits quite a few different guns, as well as the F160, F150, obviously the 200 series that we got here. It fits quite a few different guns. So if you want a good quality pot that isn't expensive and will fit your gun, I mean, it's much cheaper to buy the ANI pot, is basically what I'm saying. So anyway, you can get a good quality pot with them as well. So what else do we need to know? The tips and that are all the same. and they're all interchangeable, which is what SATA did when they put out a newer model with the 4600. They used to call it 4600 Extreme. They changed it to the 4600. When they brought that out, they kept the tips and that the same, and this is exactly the same with this. It's all the same, so it's fully interchangeable. You can interchange this with that, so it's not built-in obsolescence, and it's not making you buy different things that you don't want to buy. If you want to buy a bigger tip size, then fair enough, you buy a bigger tip size, but you don't have to buy loads of different tip sizes if you've already got some for this. So they're fully interchangeable. They have actually updated the caps. As I say, my skull is quite early, and you can see this knurled ring around the outside. Now with the newer, because this is my 1.2, which I was saying I've only recently got along with the 1.4, you can see that they've actually changed the shape. The rest of it is the same, but they've changed the shape of it, and that's continued with the Tronic. So these things are fully interchangeable. Now I've got a base coat version which is there, and as you can see, hopefully the WB, the original WB that come with the there we are, hopefully you can see that, it come with the skull, it's exactly the same. So the clear cap and the WB, well, to me they look exactly the same. I just realized that I've actually got no footage of this. Better like that. Oh, maybe you can see it a bit better like that. I've got no footage of the WB, I don't think, that's actually on YouTube, but it's a very, very good cap. But now I've got 1.2, I can use the 1.2 on the base coat caps. He says that's the clear coat cap. All right, let's start again. Base coat cap and the WB. Hopefully it's trying to focus, that's it, hopefully, but they are the same. They're the same cap, certainly as far as I can see anyway, which, as I say, is no bad thing, because it's actually a really good base coat cap. But having the 1.2 will allow me to experiment different things, and also with the clear coat cap and the 1.4 will make a good direct gloss gun, because these guns are quite fast, so the 1.2 slows it down, which is why I was saying it actually makes me think maybe I should try a 1.0, which is going to slow it down, but I wonder if that would just atomize even finer. On the finish I got with this 1.2 was really good. I have got it on video. I've got some other stuff on video as well where I was trying 1.2s against 1.2s. So that's about everything, I think, as far as I can tell. The trigger net mechanism has been improved internally. It's all designed to last longer, because one of the things that some people have said when I've mentioned about the skull is you know, a few things go wrong with them, and I haven't found that at all, to be honest. All my ANI, I haven't found it, but some people say they do. I've had trouble with Iwatas, SATAs, quite a few different guns, but not with the ANI guns. But yeah, you know, different people get different things go wrong, I guess. But the idea of it is to give it longevity, keep the compatibility, but give it longevity. That's what it's about. Anyway, I'll stop rabbiting on now, and what I'll do is we'll put a camera on my head, and we're going to run through the 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. We'll try one with base, and then the others with just clear, and we'll see what size pattern we get. Keep the distance the same and that. So, ANI Tronic. I've got the clear cap on it, and we're going to run through 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. This is a 1.2. You see it says there 1.2. NSI water spanner. Where's me NS? There's me NSI water spanner. Right. We'll use that as a gauge. That's 7 inches, so about 175 millimeters. We keep that far away from the work, just so that it's the same for all of them, basically. The material in here is 18 seconds for a Ford 4 cup. So it's what sort of like a high solids clear coat. That sort of viscosity. I'm going to set the gun up at 1.5 bar on the digital gauge. That's regulated via the regulator here. So let's have a quick go. 1.4, 1.5. So it's set at 1.5, which is about the equivalent to 2 bar at the base of the gun. As you can see, it's the clear cap. Another thing you'll notice, they've done away with the where it normally says when you buy these as a set, it says clear 1.3 or whatever. It just says clear now, which is good because the caps are all the same, and most manufacturers do the same thing. They put the size related to whatever setup they've sent you it in, but it is in fact the same cap, so it's better just to say clear. DeVilbiss do that, like with their TE20 and TE10 type caps. It is literally just the cap that actually changes, so it's just clear or base on the other one. So let's go, let's see what we get. And then we'll try at the base here. Hopefully I've got enough in there, and we'll try and give it a go for a little while and see how even the pattern is. You can't argue with that, can you? Can't argue with that at all. So that's the 1.2, we'll get the 1.3 in. So everything's exactly the same, so fluid's fully open, pressure's the same cap. All I've done is swapped over for a 1.3 tip. It'd just be interesting to see what difference it is, and then we'll try the 1.4. So let's have a go. Spanner. We'll compare them all at the end anyway, so you'll be able to see them next to each other. It's a bigger fan, which you would expect, I suppose, because you've got a bit more fluid going through. So it looks nice and even. Right, now we come down here and we'll try see if we get a nice even pattern. Yep, again, can't argue with that. Okay, so I'll put a 1.4 in and we'll see how we go. So once again, same format, everything exactly the same. All I've done now is put a 1.4 tip in with the clear setup. So we do the same again as we've been doing. And then what I'll hopefully do in a minute, I'll change back to 1.2 and put the base cap on, and we'll just see what, maybe 1.3 even, and put the base cap on and just see how it differs, if at all, from the clear pattern. So again, 175mm, 7 inches or thereabouts. Yeah, it's getting a bigger and bigger pattern, as you would expect, because it's a 1.4. This would be good for solid colours, direct gloss, single stage, whatever you want to call it, but and people that want to work faster, which is why I got the 1.4 setup as well, because I wanted to, I like quite a fast gun sometimes. We'll just do one down here and see how even the pattern is. I expect it to be just as even as all the others, because most of it would be down to the cap. And it's the same cap. It's fluttering because it's running out of or running low on fluid, and we're on our side, but you can see it's a nice even pattern again. If these run even, you end up with a big lump one side, not a lump, a real wet patch one side, and it all drips one side and not the other. But you can see this is nice and even. It could do with going slightly more over that way, but being a gravity, I can't do that. I can turn that round, but if I turn that round, it might not be correct, because the baffles, some of the baffles are made in a certain way, not necessarily on this, but it could affect it, so I prefer to do it this way. But you can see, look, nice and even. You couldn't wish for more even than that. So we get this down, put it down. I'll change to a base cap, and we'll just do a spray out and see how if at all, the base cap differs. Change the setup now. We've put the base cap on, and we've put the 1.3 tip, so 1.3 base. I don't expect it to be much difference. The first thing we'll check is the air consumption, because if the gauge is still reading 1.5, it's got a proper diaphragm regulator on the input to this. So I've only just noticed that, actually. That's quite good. The input to this is regulated from 4 bar, so it comes straight out the compressor at about 10 bar and then is regulated down at my filter set to 4 bar. So it's fully regulated going into this. So if that gauge is reading more than 1.5, it means this is using less air, the base cap is using less air than the clear. And if it's showing less than 1.5, it means that the base cap is using more air than the clear. I expect it to be the same, but we'll see. And you can see as well. Let's have a look. Make sure the camera's on actually. Yeah, camera is on. So let's see what we get. 1.5, yeah, it's using the same. So it's the same amount of air consumption whether you've got the clear or the base. Right, so let's go again. I don't expect it to be that much different, but it may well be. If anything, I think it'll be a bit smaller. That's normally what you'd expect, but we'll see. Looks a bit bigger, in fact. Still nice and even, so that's the 1.3 in the clear. Yeah, it's actually bigger. Right, well, it looks bigger anyway. We'll measure it in a minute anyway. So we'll go again down here just to see the consistency of the pattern. Yeah, looks slightly bottom heavy. And I think that may well just be me, although it's, yeah, it's catching up with each other, isn't it? Let me try again, make sure I've got enough fluid in there. Make sure I've got it straight, because if it's crooked it will be like that. Difficult with a gravity fed gun. No, it's evening out anyway, isn't it? Yeah, it's just that the gun's crooked that way. But it's a consistent pattern. I will try it again, but I think it's probably going to start to stutter. Yeah, no, it's even. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so I'll get that off and we'll have a look. So let's just quickly compare and have a look and see what sort of size patterns we're getting. So we start off with a 1.2 clear. You can see it gives a really good even pattern, which you couldn't ask for more really. Size wise, it's about 10 inches I guess. But I've used this in the skull. I haven't used it in the Tronic, but in the skull it's really, really good for a flat finish if that's what you're after. And we go to 1.3. Pattern there is a bit bigger by probably about an inch, maybe a little bit more. It probably looks better down here, or the example is better down here. You see that? That's the 1.2. That's the 1.3. You can see the area there is about 10.5 inches, the wet area so to speak, and that's about 9 inches, maybe 9 and a bit inches. So you do obviously get a bigger pattern. Everything else is the same, obviously the cap is the same, and then you move to the 1.4 and it's yet more again of the same. Now your pattern is about 10.5 inches of wet pattern, but still a good even pattern. Never going to be dead on because I can't get the gun at the right angle, but yeah, it's a really good smooth pattern. Having a look at the size again, about 11 inches, something like that. You can see on all three of these where I've feathered out, it's a real good even coating, which is what you're after. Uniformity is what you're after. Uniformity of pattern, and obviously by its very nature, if you're getting a uniform pattern, you should get a uniform laying of the material, whether it be paint or clear coat. This is actually clear coat with a bit of tinter in it, red tinter. Now coming over to the base coat. Now this looks a bit of a mess. It's only because we did it in a slightly different way. I did another pattern test here because I thought it was maybe a little bit wet heavy on the right hand side, which would be technically, I can't remember which way I held the gun up, whether it's top or bottom. A couple of things to say about this. This is probably a bit thicker than base coat would normally be. Base coat would normally be a bit thinner, so I would put the pressure down slightly normally if I was using it for base coat, but anyway, it's give a good even pattern. Initially I thought it was too much this side, but you can see it's actually flowed out nicely. It's just that the angle of the gun wasn't I can't get the angle dead at 90 degrees, but you can see that flowed out nicely. It's actually got quite a big pattern, about 10 inches, and compare that to the clear, which is about 10.5 inches, so maybe a slightly smaller pattern on the base, which is what I would have expected really. I would normally use base at 1.2 rather than 1.3, but it certainly looks fine. Everything looks absolutely fine. You can tell a lot by these patterns, and I know looking at the videos, when people look at the videos, there's a real spike in the videos where the patterns, where they're not so interested in what you're saying at the beginning or in the middle or whatever, and then it really spikes when people go to the patterns. So I know people like the patterns. Anyway, so that's the ANI Tronic. Looking forward to giving it some good use, but I expect it to be as good as the Skull, if not better, but I think it's going to be as good as the Skull. Just one little thing actually, while I need to remember, let me get the Skull. That's what I had here. Now there's a few things that I was saying about ANI seem to be trying to improve the quality of their offerings. One of the things I noticed on my ANI Skull, bear in mind this is an early ANI Skull, and I don't know whether I can actually capture it on camera, but if you can see that retaining screw there, or lug there, hopefully, why am I moving my hand away? I'm pointing to it, I need to point to it there. That retaining screw just there, hopefully you can see that it's slightly chewed up. Now I've never touched that. So that's been tightened up and just slightly over tightened by whoever put it in at the factory. Now I noticed both of these are absolutely perfect. Yeah, you can see it better there. It hasn't been chewed up at all. And my other Tronic, as I said, I got actually two because I wanted a base and a clear version. You can see that one is exactly the same. So it's little things like I was saying about the that looks a better quality steel, stainless steel, and that's just the way that's been done. It's just little things I'm looking for, and it's just showing that they are sort of improving as they go along. The gauge apparently, as I said, is capable. Well, it's capable of being dropped from 5 meters. I'm not going to try it because I don't want to, but it's got a lot more shock resistance. But as I say, I haven't had any problems with the with this one. The only thing you'll find actually with these gauges is when it's really cold, they don't work. So stick them in your pocket or leave them in your house or whatever. But if you're going to use it, stick it in your pocket for 15-20 minutes before you use it, and that's like when it's sort of like 5 degrees Celsius or below. They just effectively turn off. So stick it in your pocket and then put it on the gun before you actually go to use it. Anyway guys, thanks as always for watching. Again, a big thank you to Sprayguns Direct for supplying these two guns. I did buy them, but they did help me tremendously in affording them. So yeah, a big thank you to them. And if you are enjoying the videos, maybe think about giving us a subscription and a like. Cheers guys, thanks very much. Bye bye.